One of the reasons that Carl Gustav Jung developed his theory of psychological types was that he had fallen out with Sigmund Freud. He wanted to understand what had caused the conflict between two people who, on the face of it, had very similar interests. Although there were many other interests involved in the breakup of the two men, one of them was their psychological type. They not only viewed the world differently, but they viewed each other differently. And our preferences can distort the way that we view other people and the way that we view ourselves. I want to illustrate this with a simple exercise that I often use on workshops. Here I have two lists showing the characteristics of blue people and the characteristics of red people. In terms of psychological type, thinking is blue and feeling is red. Now, what I'd like you to do is to take a look at these two lists and decide which of these two types of people you would prefer to have as a boss. So blue people are organised, logical, fair, objective, professional, task-oriented. Red people are muddled, irrational, biased, over-emotional, inefficient and uncommitted. Now, most people say that they would prefer to have a blue person as a boss. But let me just leave the paper there and put a red filter on top. This is the tricky bit. There we go. Now we see that blue people are discouraging, callous, obstructive, unfeeling, argumentative and brutal. And red people are motivational, caring, helpful, passionate, friendly and people-oriented. So which person would you rather have as a boss now? Well, most people say that they'd prefer a red person with these descriptions. Now actually the descriptions haven't changed. The piece of paper that's underneath the filter hasn't changed. All that's changed is the filter that we've used to look at the piece of paper. The red filter highlights all the positive attributes of red people and all the negative attributes of blue people. And the blue filter highlights all the positive attributes of blue people and all the negative attributes of red people. This is what your psychological type does. It distorts how we view other people to present your own preferences in a more positive light and other preferences in a more negative light, and I am using other with a capital O. So how do we overcome this distortion in the way that we view ourselves and others? Well, one way is perhaps to try to use both filters, but there is a problem. If I put both filters on top, then we can see that it's black. You can't actually see anything. And Jung said it's impossible to use both the opposites at the same time. But there is another option, and this is what Jung sometimes referred to as the third thing, or the transcendent function. That is, we get another filter of a completely different colour. Now, I think this is yellow because when I bought it from the shop I asked for a yellow filter, but most people who look at it say that it's green. Whatever the colour, let's use this filter instead. And you can see what's happened here. We now have two sets of lists that contain both positive and negative traits. In Jung's terminology, this yellow filter or green filter is a transcendent function, because what we now see in the two lists transcends what we previously saw separately in the red and the blue filters. In simpler terms, we have come to recognise that there are good and bad sides to everyone, and that no one type is better or more valuable than another. I wonder what the world would be like if everybody took the yellow or green view.